What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome into the Jets Report. I am your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, I want to dive into the latest Jets news and rumors, specifically what Aaron Glenn had to say about a couple of key players on this Jets roster, and it's kind of got me fired up heading into the next season. Then also a bunch of new rule changes just came out from the NFL, so how does that impact the New York Jets? We'll break it all down on today's show. But before we dive into it, first off, I want to say thank you guys. We picked up 96 subscribers on a video earlier this week, and we are just now 4 subscribers away to beating the Bills breakdown in a race to 100 subs. So if you guys have not already, please go down there, hit that sub button. We just need 4 more of you guys to hit that subscribe button. So if you guys could, stay up to date around everything on your New York Jets and subscribe today. All right, so let's start off today's show talking about what new head coach Aaron Glenn has been saying this past week, and he started off talking about the running back position and how he views, the usage of Breece Hall, Braelon Allen, how will they look in this new New York Jets offense, and this is what Aaron Glenn had to say, saying, well, when we have good players at that position like we do, it can be a 1-2-3 with the guys we have. Those guys are good players, and we're going to utilize those guys. If we can get them all on the field, if we can at one time, we will do that. That was pretty interesting there. And he also said, we want to be a violent, tough, physical team. And those men are really violent runners, and we will take advantage of that. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if it's just because it's cold in the studio we're filming right now, or if Aaron Glenn just gave me chills running down my spine. But hearing him talk about being a more physical football team, we want to be a violent football team, where I think teams in the past, especially over the past couple of years with this Aaron Rodgers version of the New York Jets, teams didn't really fear the Jets. They viewed the Jets as a soft football team. They're not going to punch you in the mouth. If you just come out and you beat them early, they will fold. But not this new regime, not this Aaron Glenn-led New York Jets, where I feel like, no matter what the record is, no matter what the scoreboard says, you have to get in a fist fight with this football team every single game. And when he was talking about just the production on the ground, like last year, the Jets were the second worst running team in the National Football League. Only averaged 91.8 yards per game, which was 31st. Only had 8 touchdowns on the ground. Only ran for 4.3 yards per carry, only 1,500 yards total. So definitely that was a weak spot of this offense. You put too much pressure on Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know if this is a reflection of specifically Aaron Rodgers or the Jets not having the personnel to run the football. I think this is more of a reflection of what Aaron Rodgers wanted to do offensively, because I like the interior of the offensive line. Having Olu Fashanu back, you should be able to have some sense of physicality up front. And then also, I like both of the running backs, and Aaron Glenn talked about those guys. And he specifically talked about Breece Hall, who was obviously coming off a down year this past season. He actually ended up screwing me in fantasy football, but that's a different story for a different day. But Aaron Glenn said, I think mentally, Hall is in a good place. We have 3 running backs on this team that we're going to utilize as much as possible. They're all big men. They can run. They're violent. They're physical. Once we get the players in and see how they operate, I think every player is going to be happy with how they go about this offense, and he will, talking about Hall, be one of them. Now, I love hearing Aaron Glenn kind of, not like call out Breece Hall, but acknowledge him in his conference earlier today. Because, listen, Breece Hall, he is a tremendous talent, and we saw flashes specifically in that 2023 season, but then in the 2024 season, definitely took a step back. He was not the same guy. Now, was that most of the scheme? I believe it was. But also, I think the Jets could have a great 1-2 punch this upcoming year of Breece Hall and Braelon Allen. Now, their production this past season, it doesn't look good if you're just looking at the raw numbers. I mean, just the average yards per carry for Breece Hall, 4.2, compared to Braelon Allen, 3.6. But I don't think this is a talent issue with either of these guys. I think this was a scheme issue and a usage issue. Now, I think both these guys, like Breece Hall kind of being like your speed scat back, still can get it done on all 3 downs if need be. But then you got Braelon Allen kind of being that physical running back where you toss him in on goal line situations. You have him on these 3rd and shorts, second and shorts. You put him in there. And I think the Jets will probably try to replicate what the Detroit Lions had last season in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Now, is Breece Hall the caliber of running back that Jahmyr Gibbs is? Probably not, but it's not like that gap is as extreme as I think most people would think. And David Montgomery compared to Braelon Allen, yeah, David Montgomery is a better running back at this point in his career, but would I be shocked if Braelon Allen took that next step with an improved offensive line, with an improved offensive system, that he couldn't replicate what David Montgomery did last season with 185 carries, 775 yards? Now, it's all going to start up front, and we'll see what happens, but I do think this Jets offense, and I think if you're just kind of, piecing all the pieces together here, they will be a run-first team, and this offense will be built around the run this upcoming season, because I also think it was very telling that they didn't go out and sign another wide receiver too. They didn't go out and sign a big-name tight end to help the passing game. What did they do? They brought in some interior offensive linemen, Josh Myers, and then, you brought in a dynamic running quarterback in Justin Fields, which will just naturally help the running game, because if you do incorporate some read option, some triple option game, they have to respect Justin Fields on the ground. So I think this offense is going to look completely different than what it did last year. Like, honestly, if I had to pick one team in the NFL where their offense is going to look more different than what it did in the years past, it's probably the New York Jets, because they had Aaron Rodgers. He wanted to push the ball, or he tried to push the ball downfield last season. Did not work out too well, but he wanted to throw the ball all over the lot. You had Garrett Wilson. You had Devontae Adams. I mean, it made sense them playing into their strengths, but now their strengths for this upcoming season, I think it's in the trenches. I think it's with the running backs, and especially if you take pick number 7 and you go Tyler Warren, Armin Membu, where Warren, obviously you do great work in the pass catching game, but I also think you improve the run blocking department at that tight end spot. And then if you take Armin Membu, I mean, you got 2 good tackles, a good interior offensive line. It's really just going to come down to the scheme, in my opinion, if this Jets rushing offense is top tier in the NFL. But also, Aaron Glenn talked about Josh Reynolds. I thought this was pretty interesting. He said the thing about Josh is Josh really starts out as a really, really good blocker. He's going to be able to help create explosive plays in the run game. And that's one thing we talked about quite a bit. If you don't block, you don't get the rock. I'm going to say that again. If you don't block, you don't get the rock. I love that from Aaron Glenn. Those guys get that. For him to beat one-on-one coverage the way he did in Detroit, I'm looking forward to seeing him do that again. And just hearing Glenn talk about even a guy like Josh Reynolds, who could potentially be the wide receiver 2, 3, or 4 for this football team, I expect this Jets team to be a physical football team. And I always think it is telling when you see a team out there who plays like their head coach and plays like the personality of their head coach. I think it speaks to, one, that coach being a good coach in the National Football League, but also, 2, I think it leads to more success, because that identity that Aaron Glenn, I mean, he has made it clear from the first time he has started talking about this team, we are going to be physical. We are going to lean on our defense. We are going to lean on our run game, and we are going to kind of create that old school New York Jets football feel. Couldn't be more excited for Aaron Glenn in this new version of the New York Jets. But prediction time for us here on the channel. Will the Jets have a top 10 rushing offense next season? This is a lofty goal, considering they were 31st in the National Football League this past season. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Will the Jets have a top 10 rushing offense next season? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no. All right, let's dive into some of the rule changes that dropped earlier on this morning on this good old April Fool's Day here. So Albert Breer started off saying NFL owners tabled the Lions' proposal on seeding the playoffs purely on record. Lots of discussion, no vote. So pretty much the Lions, they wanted it. You take the Vikings last season, for example, they won 14 games in this system that the Lions proposed. They would have been the 2 seed in the NFC, with tiebreakers over the Philadelphia Eagles, who also won 14 games. But they wanted to switch it up where it wasn't a divisional winner gets a home playoff game. They wanted where it was just based off record. Now, personally for me, I think division football matters. I would rather have them keep that rule where it's like, hey, if you win the division, you get a home playoff game, because I think it would almost have division games during the season not feel as impactful, and winning that division crown won't feel as important as it did. So I'm happy they kept this rule. But also this, coming from Adam Schefter, NFL owners have tabled the tush-push conversation. No decision about its future at this league meeting. So the tush-push will remain in the NFL this upcoming season. I'll tell you what, if the Jets draft Tyler Warren, watch out for him to be the tush-push guy. That'll be my little hot take on today's show. If Tyler Warren's the pick, he will be kind of their wildcat tush-push quarterback, mainly because Penn State used him in that way this past season. So tush-push will stay. We'll see if defenses can adjust. We'll see if they have any more wrinkles to at least try to slow this down. But I really don't have any I don't have any strong opinions about this. I think it's fine that they're keeping it. Do I think it's the best look for the NFL? Probably not. But also, I don't want them changing a rule just because one team is so much better at it than another. But we also got some new rules to the kickoff here, which actually I think is great news for the New York Jets, specifically for Kene Nwangwu. So Adam Schefter said NFL's kickoff proposal was separated into two votes today, one that passed, one that was tabled. The one that was passed, the football now moves to the 35-yard line after a touchback, and there was no vote at this time on the onside kick modification. There's speculation that they may have like a 4th and 15 play instead of an onside kick. They're just going to keep it the way it is. But in terms of the touchback now being at the 35-yard line, I'm going to assume around 70 to 75% of kickoffs will be returned this season. Kickers aren't just going to kick it out of the back of the end zone. And, for a guy like Kene Nwangwu, who is so impactful in that part of the game, I think it's great news for the Jets. And plus, it will make it so much more entertaining late in these games where there's 20 seconds left. Like, let's just say you're down by 3. Do you really want to kick it out of the back of the end zone, give them the ball at the 35-yard line, where if you have a good kicker, you just need to pick up 20, 25 yards, and you're damn near in field goal range. So I think that'll be a very interesting rule this upcoming year. But also Ari Miroff saying official. The NFL announced that Sony's Hawkeye technology will be used next season to electronically measure first downs. The chain crew will remain on the sidelines as backup, but a new era is officially underway. So I think that was a big impact from the Bills-Chiefs game where there's controversy on the spot of a 4th and short. I like this. It's just crazy where the NFL is going right now, but no real, big thoughts on that one for me. I think it would just lead to more, accurate placement of the football after every single play. So I think that's a good one. And then also, Adam Schefter saying NFL owners also now have approved proposals to expand the league's replay assist system. So if there is like a bad penalty on the field, it's clear that it was not a penalty. They can just call it down without a challenge. They can just fix that very easily. So I like that one. But also, overtime rules are changed for the regular season. NFL owners have now passed a rule that both teams will be allowed to possess the ball in overtime in the regular season. The original proposal was for a 15-minute overtime. That now has been amended to a 10-minute overtime rule. So I like this. No real strong thoughts on that one either. It's just crazy how the NFL is changing so fast. And it's like, next year, could the tush push be banned? Like, what other new rules could we get? It's just crazy how fast things change in the NFL. But I agree with this. I mean, give both teams a fair chance. And also, I like having the regular season rules match up with the postseason rules. So, no real issues across the board. But I'll ask you guys, be honest with me. How do you feel about these new rules? Personally, I'm a fan of them. I love the touchback rule. I think it's just going to add for more drama later in these games. So that's my favorite one. But you guys be honest. How do you feel about these new rules? And also a friendly reminder, hit that subscribe button on your way out. Help us reach 5,000 subs here on YouTube. See you guys next time. As always, go Jets.